Well, actually, maybe we should just pause for a second. You explain to people exactly what we mean by chemicals, because we're talking about neurotransmitters. Maybe you can explain a little of the biochemistry of what we're talking about.
Sure. So there are two different things. Hormones and neurotransmitters are two different things. One passes the blood-brain barrier. It's a tongue twister, and that's hormones. The other is only in your cerebrospinal fluid, it's called, in your brain, effectively. And I use the term neurochemicals because that includes both of them and obscures all of the complication. So one of the complications, though, in case people want to know this, so we have serotonin in our brain, in our cerebrospinal fluid, but we have separate serotonin, like 10 times as much, in our digestive system. They're totally separate. And this is such a long story. I can't go into the whole story, but it's in all of my books, that if you think about it from an animal perspective, the two behaviors go together. Serotonin gives me the confidence to go toward food, because in the animal world it's competitive, and then the serotonin also prepares me to digest the food. So the idea that one chemical has many different jobs is the norm, and this was discovered. Many people have heard fight or flight. Now, the amazing thing about fight or flight, it's all fight or fright, fight or flight or freeze. And these are all very different behaviors, all caused by one chemical that makes a lot of physiological changes that prepares you to do any of these. So the chemicals are related to a real animal need rather than just one body part. Oh, and the other important thing that I've learned from people lately, when people get the idea that depression is that they have a serotonin imbalance, this is the way doctors say it. So somebody may think that they went to the doctor and the doctor tested their serotonin and they didn't have enough. No, it's not true. It's the opposite. Is if you go to the doctor and say you're unhappy, then they just say, well, you must have a serotonin imbalance. Nobody ever tests your serotonin. It's just a theory. And the reason they don't test it is for two reasons. One is it's never been proven that that's the cause of depression, and there are multiple causes. The other reason is because they'd have to tap your spinal fluid to test it, which is very invasive, and nobody wants to do that. So
Yeah.
that's why people should know that this is just a theory. And my theory explains the job that serotonin does in the animal world, which is to give you confidence that you are strong enough to meet your needs in a world full of threat.
Right. Okay, right. So these happy chemicals were not designed to flow all the time. And like you're saying, just to kind of reiterate for the audience, at the end of the day, they exist in order to help us survive in nature. And that biology is still alive in us today in our modern 21st century, like it or not. Like this is really what's happening under the current. Okay, so we talked about
And
dopamine.
it's what's happening in your nonverbal brain. But your animal brain can't use language, so it can't tell you what it's doing. So nobody knows this. And that's why I was so amazed. Like I put it together from reading psychology, like stacks and stacks of books in all different disciplines that don't talk to each other.
Right, I know that's why your work is just so important.